Like when I heard that back during the last edit, I went crazy. I was like, I kicked. Like I began kicking.
I just picture you without any pants on, kicking your legs like
I did. I had sweatpants, and I kicked until my house shoes flew off.
Welcome to the Beacon House Podcast, recorded live in Knoxville, Tennessee.
Hunter, close your legs. I can smell your herpes from here. Gross. Gross.
I called it.
Dumb bitch.
I read your text message like 6 times because I didn't get it at first. I was like, that makes no sense. And it was like,
it looks badass. Hunter's herpes, by the way, not the trailer. I haven't watched that yet.
I do have answers, Spitzer.
I could also, by the way, I could hear, you know, whenever someone posts a picture of Professor Farnsworth from Futurama and you can hear that voice, when he texted back to us and said, ha 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 shit, I could actually hear him going, ah, shit.
I went, ha ha shit. Like,
oh, so it was a quieter version.
But it was fun. Yeah. Man, shit. That was me doing the whole...
I think that fiber bar is trying to come out of me still.
I know, you've been introduced to the joy. Anyway, welcome to the Beacon House Podcast, everyone. We are here today.
I'm Hunter.
I'm Casey.
I'm Spence. You know, we don't do that anymore. Do you think people know?
I don't think they do anymore. You're
I'm
Spencer.
Spence.
Does it matter? I don't really care.
We're just disembodied voices.
Yeah. We're just the voices inside your head.
Yeah.
And
You're not listening to the podcast.
You guys
right
have a couple things you want to talk about today. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. Can we do the news segment before we get into that? I'm really proud of the news segment. I listened to the last one and I was like, yay, I did.
Wait, is it time for the news?
Now it's time for the Beacon House news
Can
section.
you guys give me a little news? I love that so much. Like when I heard that back during the last edit, I went crazy. I was like, I kicked. I began kicking.
I just picture you without any pants on, kicking your legs like
I did. I had sweatpants, and I kicked until my house shoes flew off. Anyway, current news on the Beacon House Podcast. So this week, UT fired Coach Jeremy Pruitt.
Thank God.
Got rid of that guy forever. And Philip Fulmer retired. There's a new all-time low, I'm told, for UT football.
Oh, yeah? That's not the last decade?
Apparently, this was it. This is
game?
the biggest it's ever been. It can't get any worse from here.
I beg to differ, because they said that when they hired Pruitt, that it couldn't get any worse.
The National Rifle Association filed bankruptcy after being sued by the state of New York, and they are expected to leave New York and reform in Texas. Joe Biden became the 46th president.
That's its own joke.
Yeah. Biden became 46th president of the United States after 5 decades of being in politics. On his last day in office, Donald Trump pardoned 143 people, none of which were Julian Assange. Global COVID deaths soar past 2 million this week, despite news stories of improving COVID numbers started running within 6 hours after the inauguration. Baseball legend Hank Aaron died at 86, one of the greatest hitters in baseball history, and paved the way for many successful black athletes.
Hammer Hank.
Big tech stocks set all-time record highs. All-time stock market record highs this week. Meanwhile, 1/3 of all small businesses in the U.S. couldn't pay their rent. Dave Chappelle tested positive for COVID-19 and canceled a whole bunch of shows in Texas with Joe Rogan. We hope Dave does well. CBS is going to launch Paramount Plus on March 4th. It's going to be their new streaming platform.
And no one's going to buy it.
I don't know anything. Do you know anything about it?
Nope.
Yeah, it's Paramount. No one's going to buy it.
Same as Peacock and CBS. Like no one gives shit.
Okay. Conor McGregor loses UFC number 257 to Dustin Poirier, who weakened him with a series of devastating leg kicks. Did either of you guys see any of the fight?
No.
It was interesting. It was a really good fight. A lot of people think Conor McGregor is now going to retire, that he's just lost too much. He doesn't have it. But interestingly, the fight occurred on that island. Like the UFC secured an island in like Abu Dhabi, and everybody onto the island had to be like swabbed. And so by the time you got to the island, there was no chance of there being COVID.
Which is weird because Dana White was like this huge Trump supporter and said that COVID was a hoax. So
I think they still have maybe guidelines they have to go through because the I don't know, but they did it. They managed to have this fight on an island where everybody was tested coming in. Nobody was allowed to leave. Anyway, Conor lost. And weirdly, he and the opponent were like real friendly to each other. I mean, it wasn't like the guy. He actually seems to have become a little more human. And let's see here. And last but not least, a bunch of progressive riots erupted in Seattle and Portland, protesting the Biden-Harris inauguration. They vandalized the local Democratic headquarters. And when CNN reporters showed up and asked them, wait a minute, why are you guys still rioting? They got rid of Donald Trump. The protesters told CNN, Democrats and Republicans are just branches of the same tree, and we need a forest. Another girl, when interviewed, they put this on CNN. She said, Kamala Harris is still a cop. Joe Biden is still president in the same political system, and the system is the issue. So
They're not wrong about that.
They're not wrong about that. So riots continue even after having, ridded, the White House of the scourge of Donald Trump. Some people still aren't buying it, and they think there's still systemic racism. There's still a problem with the police.
Well, yeah, there
all the
always will
reform.
be.
Well, we just elected the guy that wrote the 94 crime bill.
Yeah, and so not everybody's fooled by that apparently. So now you got people on both sides that are still protesting.
Did you guys hear about the QAnon? Like apparently in the inauguration, they said that they were going to do some big attack or something. Mm-hmm. It didn't happen. Now QAnon's like basically falling apart, and all the people that stormed the Capitol who are like followers of QAnon and doing it for them are now being like, "Hey, we're really sorry. Like we thought like the revolution was coming, and now it's not. And like we're really apologetic about the things that we've done. And and it's like, nope, fuck you, nerd. You're staying in prison."
Well,
I mean, that's what you get for being a never masker in the middle of a raid on the government.
That's true. And also, a lot of people seem to be remiss that they stormed the Capitol in defense and in protest of President Donald Trump, and then they all got arrested and charged, and they're all going to trial, and he pardoned Lil Wayne.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Well, did you see the thing I sent you guys about the guy who was like going through the little booklet of the laws, and he was like, look, it says right here that they object to this thing. So like they're trying to hurt us. They're trying to like, and someone goes, no, objection means that they fought against it and that they're for what we want. And he goes, oh, right, sorry. And like keeps flipping. It's like, you don't know legal documents, you dumbass.
Jesus. Wow.
So once again, the country's a fucking turd tornado.
Well, no, but a calmer sea is before us because the news media, since Biden came in, has been asking if he thinks that he's the right guy to unify the country and what his plan is to heal everything. And they've been giving him a wide berth so he can safely get to his limo to drive away. All the combative, challenging media that we've seen, which is a good thing, gone.
Well, one more thing, though. His press secretary is fucking killing it. Have you seen her get up there?
I've seen one of them. I like them.
She gets up there and she's just like, someone's like, so what is Mr. Biden thinking about the redesign of Air Force One's colors? And she goes, I can tell you right now, not for even a second has Joe Biden even considered thinking about what the new color of Air Force One's needs to be. And like anytime this news, like basically they're asking him questions that they think Donald Trump would have been like, well, I want to do this and that. Yeah. And she's just like, eat shit. We're worried about real things. Sorry. Yeah. Next question.
I liked. I only saw her first press conference.
I would have been like, not for 1 second has Joe Biden thought.
Shut up, you tick turd.
Sorry.
But in her first press conference, they asked her a couple questions, and it's probably still an illusion just to like give the illusion of trust now. But she was like, "He's been in office for 7 hours. I don't know. I don't know. There's not an answer."
Respect. I love seeing, man, and
I like that.
Trump had a couple of really stellar press secretaries too. So like, I love it when the guys at top have a press secretary that has to deal with the media and they're kind of punchy with them. I love watching that, regardless of what side they're on.
Well, Trump's last press secretary, that like blonde chick, she was actually really fun to watch because the reporters would be trying to like set her up for failure, and she'd be like, "First of all, you're an idiot. Next question," and it's just like, "All right."
Yeah, they try to bait her all the time. No, that's good stuff. I would recommend, if you want to really watch anything informative, to go watch the Joe Rogan podcast this week that featured Tulsi Gabbard.
Ooh, I didn't know she was on. Also, Rising on The Hill on YouTube.
Yeah, they talk about The Hill.
They should. They're transparent.
Her and Joe both talk about it, and they both talk about how much they like it. But she's out of politics now. She retired from. She's Tulsi? No longer. Yeah, she retired as a congresswoman, and now she's starting her own like a show and a podcast.
Wait, no. No.
Never
it's better.
Will she be president?
It's better now.
Wait, no. You can be a president without being a politician. We just learned this 4 years ago.
She wasn't going to be.
Never
president.
mind.
But anyway, yeah, I'd recommend go listen to that podcast because it's pretty good.
Hey, camera lady, don't laugh. You're recording content. Come on.
Turn her mic down. No. So
what do we got today, guys? What's your? That's the news segment. I didn't even mean for it to go that long.
Another episode of Beacon House News Segment. Things going on in the world times now.
I saw some news. Here's your fucking news, lady.
So I texted you guys earlier this week because I was watching the Night Stalker.
Have some news, bitch.
The dude.
Give him a minute. Give him a minute. It's early on set. He needs to
I
gather
slipped
himself.
on some news. It went up my buttocks. This news.
Better eat a Fiber One bar to get that out. So I texted you guys and asked you guys to watch the Night Stalker documentary, which you guys responded, I'm on the last episode. Like both of you were like, I'm already watching it.
I had watched the first one and then kind of like paused and gotten away from it, and I kind of forgot about it for a little bit. And when you texted, I was like, oh shit, I need to go back, and I went back and got like
it was
super into
a really good documentary.
It was. Yeah.
And I enjoyed that it followed the police in their investigation more than it followed like him and like trying to glorify what he did.
I don't remember much about that guy. Like a lot of people that I've seen the response to the Night Stalker documentary go, I don't remember this.
Really?
Well, there wasn't huge media back then. Like if you caught it on the evening news, that was it. Otherwise, what happened in L.A. was
I know a
happening in
lot
LA.
about him from like watching those A&E like 48 Hours and stuff with my mom growing up. I didn't know near as much as I got from the documentary. And like Casey said, which we were talking about before you got here, following the police was nicer because I knew plenty about him and he's gross and I didn't want to focus on that. But
Yeah.
Well, and he was supposed to be like a new type of like serial killer because he was like molesting children and killing old people. Didn't he have
robbing people and leaving people alive, like beating them half to death and then robbing them and leaving. He apparently was the most prolific serial killer of our time because of how many people he attacked and how he would attack and kill people. He didn't have a type. He didn't have an MO. It was really hard to kind of track him because it was like the only thing they could follow him was that shoe. Before that, it was just like they had to go, well, check robberies now, check child molestations, check murders, check,
because he could have been doing
rapes.
anything.
And he could have been doing anything. And he was just running rampant. And I think they said, or maybe the podcast I was listening to said that there was still like 20 cases that he's tied to that he didn't admit to. And like, apparently when they caught him, he was like, oh, I've done so much more that you guys don't know about. And it's just like.
Well, they did at the end of the documentary, at least that one detective that was pissed at the news lady said that thing about the 5-month window that showed up that wasn't anywhere else in the timeline was like, I think because he went to San Diego and stuff, he just traveled elsewhere and we didn't know it was him.
Yeah.
So.
And at one point he was in Arizona. It's like, you don't know what he could have done out there in Arizona. But a lot of people consider him the most evil person of America. Like he's like.
And he was Richard Ramirez, right? That was the guy's name? Richard Ramirez, yeah. He was
Night
also
Stalker,
considered a sex symbol.
Which is so fucking weird.
Like people apparently like he was just a very attractive guy that. But when he was in court and he was in a suit and he had like sunglasses and stuff, women were ape shit over this guy.
That was the cult of fame, though. Cult of personality is what they were talking about.
But I just found it interesting. Like he was a very big Satanist. He apparently spent the night in graveyards. And he like carved a pentagram in his palm and said like "Hail Satan." And at one point, some god was like, "Oh God, please no." And he was like, "No, not God." He's like,
"Oh yeah,
like pray
to Satan to live." Yeah.
And I'm interested in this talking about people like that with a possible mental illness, or do you think it's possible that he was under the influence of something?
Yes,
like something spiritual was happening to him.
I think he was demon possessed.
Okay, that's what I wanted. Yeah. That's kind of what I wanted.
But not in. I don't think it's
exorcist
in
ways.
Right.
Yeah.
And this is a big.
There's affliction and oppression, which are elements of possession. So, like for layman's terms, I think what you said is right. But I would more think
oppressed.
A spirit.
There are people that believe. For the record, there are spiritual people that believe that if any affliction you have, if you're prone to overeating, if you're prone to depression, if you're prone to just that's a form of possession. A lot of people believe that there are many forms of possession. It's not just I'm vomiting pea soup in The Exorcist. I'm Linda Blair,
which I feel like a lot of movies overly glorify possession and oppression. Like I feel like I don't think like it's ever really like that.
It all hinges on your beliefs. A lot of rational people don't believe that shit. They believe that you have psychological issues, and a lot of people in this psychiatric field they attribute it to a lot of things that they studied medicinally and clinically. I don't know. They just don't think that automatically when somebody acts weird, they're possessed. They think that look to them looks a lot like Salem witch trial stuff.
Well, it makes sense given in the documentary one of the cops that said the thing about like every bad thing that can happen to a person that turns them into a bad person. Every single one of them happened to him, and that maybe because he was so young and everything else, maybe he kind of internalized that darkness the way a lot of people do. But instead of turning to either therapy or art or like other people where you like somehow just squish it and move on, he just like became that, and that could have opened, a doorway for something.
I'm going to ask a question. This relates to that. I'm going to ask a question. You guys are going to think I'm crazy, but have any of you ever watched Desperate Housewives?
Yes. No. Wait. Yes.
Have you really?
Yeah.
It's phenomenal. It's a great show.
Wait.
It's not a reality.
On ABC. Okay, yeah. With Eva Longoria when she came.
Well, I want to say in season 6 or something like that, they deal with this. There's like a guy on the show, and I don't want to reveal who it is because in case anybody hasn't watched it, but you could easily, if you're interested in what causes somebody to become a killer, you could just go to it's on like Prime or Hulu or something. Go to Desperate Housewives.
Husband.
No, it's a young guy. But anyway, all this stuff happens and these girls start dying and it's weird, but he's like living in the neighborhood and he's friends with their children and takes care of their kids. And they have a big thing about and you start to see his background. He's got like an alcoholic mom and she's abusive and verbally abusive. But also he also gets marginalized by like just girls he's friends with. And anyway, one day he just snaps and like chokes a prostitute. And then it's this big, but anyway, they kind of summarize it in a real interesting way. And they say that and there's this narration through the entire series has a narration.
The person that died at the beginning.
The girl who dies at the very beginning narrates the 8 seasons of it, which is phenomenal.
It's 4 seasons too long, but yeah.
Oh, maybe. But either way, season 6, they say, it turns out when a lot of us live amongst monsters. We live right next door to monsters or right down the road, or maybe we buy our groceries from a monster or whatever. But when you wonder how a person becomes a monster, it turns out what we find when you dig into it is that most monsters are created by other monsters. And it talks about the parents and the system and, things like that.
Have you guys delved into Richard Ramirez and like how his childhood was?
Only what I heard in the documentary.
Just a little bit, but most of from the documentary.
Because it really wasn't. It doesn't seem like it was his family was fairly strict. He had a couple of head traumas growing up. Apparently, a dresser fell on when he was 2, and then he got hit in the head with a swing at a later date. But I think what really
wasn't he abused? Didn't he have a horrible upbringing?
He had some kind of abuse. Are you going to his dad?
No, his cousin. So he had a cousin named Mikey or Miguel. I'm not 100% sure. The podcast I listened to called him Mikey. Another thing I listened to called him Miguel. But it was an older cousin who was in Vietnam who like hung around Richard a lot when he was growing up. And this guy was like a Green Beret, Vietnam, and showed Richard a bunch of Polaroids of the women he assaulted and killed, Vietnamese women. And at one point, like apparently he showed him a picture of like a severed head off the body of a woman he had just assaulted. And then at a later date, that guy, Mikey, shot his wife in the face with a .357 in front of Richard.
I remember that from the documentary.
And he saw this woman get shot in the head and die. And so it's like, he definitely had some trauma for sure.
Yep.
And that glorified and showed him like gave him this like complex of murder and gore and violence is, I like that. It makes me feel good kind of thing.
I'll tell you what I like from watching the documentary. And of course it's Hollywood still, but in the documentary, there were just certain shots of him. And just from the look in that guy's eyes, like I don't feel like he was acting a lot of it. I mean, I think some of the stuff, like maybe when he carved the pentagram in his hand, that was for attention because now he knew that he was on TV and every time he left the courthouse, he was going to get a bunch of attention. And he was indoctrinated through fame. And
that makes sense. But the theatrics of how he went after people, all of the rotting of his mouth and filing of teeth and stuff.
Yeah, and just
that,
like
that was before that.
The bad odor, the librarian says he came in, he smelled like a goat and he had a bunch of like broken teeth and it was just, there's just a deterioration of the human, which again could be psychological. I'm not, whatever. But just between all that stuff and all the things he did and building up to it and like just the look in the guy's eye, I would not be surprised if there was like a possession thing there.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, he's a Satanist. He openly talked about practicing the occult.
Sure.
Yeah, which I
Messing
think
with Ouija boards, opening doors.
Yeah, that might have been born from the abuse I was thinking of from his childhood was, I can't remember the family member, but they mentioned it once in passing in the documentary, but like when he would act out, somebody in the family was known to like take him either to a graveyard or someplace that had like a cross and like chain him to it and leave him there for hours until he like repented.
I think it was his dad.
Okay, so that would be a thing that would, on top of everything else, drive you to, at the very least, explore the opposite of that, because that's not going to endear you to any kind of Judeo-Christian mindset.
Sure.
Well, understandably so.
It could have been a rebellious thing.
Yeah.
A lot of people.
And then once you open the door,
a lot of people that perpetuate Satanism aren't really Satanists. They're just doing it to get. They're doing it to take a shot at Christians that screwed them up as they were growing up, or they were marginalized by the church or whatever. And a lot of times it's a reaction. You know, like most of the metal bands that have like 666 and pentagrams and all, that's just to piss off all the people that protest their show standing outside from the fucking church, which is probably worse than the crowd in the fucking, you know, in the concert.
Yeah.
But
then the danger is that you open doorways if you explore that stuff, though.
It's true. It's true. Most of the true like people I knew that really, really like looked into Satanism, it's not about pentagrams and witchcraft and dark magic. It's just about the worship of self. Mm-hmm. You know, it doesn't have a real imagery to it. It's kind of just you do what you want. You think you're the center of the universe kind of a thing. But it's the worship of self over external things.
Well, that is the Lucifer story, though, from Scripture, so it makes sense.
But it's not real obvious, and it's not real like hoods and cloaks and fires and cauldrons and that kind of shit. It's just people that are
That's
really
more like Wiccan, pagan shit.
And again, that's a long, weird conversation. But this guy, I think, definitely was under the influence of either an extreme mental illness or possibly something demonic, or just I'm looking at the guy. He looked like
he has shark eyes.
He had that fucking look. Yeah, I've seen that
you
look.
can't see his pupils in those pictures.
I've seen that look before. I saw that in a look with a guy coming down the alley on campus one day. I was outside. This one I used to smoke cigarettes, and I would stand outside. I would go out the back door, and there's like an alley there. I would smoke cigarettes, and I saw a guy coming down the alley. There's a lot of homeless people and crazy people that come down there, and you just go, "Hey man, keep moving. Like I can't help you." But this guy was coming down the alley, and he looked like he didn't have any eyelids. Like his eye, I don't know if he was on crack or whatever. He was real tall, and his eyes were so bugged out. He almost looked like a cartoon character, and he was walking all crazy. And like I told a lot of people this story, he had headphones on, like big over-the-ear headphones, and he was like waving his head around. And I remember I was out there smoking. I was like, uh-oh, like this is a live one here. And then I looked, and like the headphones, the cord just dangled. It wasn't plugged into anything. It just dangled freely. But he was still hearing some music. When I saw that, I was like, nope, go on the fucking side.
Yep.
Like I saw the look in that guy's eye. He looked just like Richard Ramirez. Like he had this look like he was just gone.
Dead wanted $1.
Dead eyes.
Yeah.
Well, then you have his like whole court scene where he holds up his hand like this, and he has the pentagram on his hand, and you know everyone's like yelling at him, like the people in the like in the audiences are yelling at him, and he's just like "Hail Satan!" And as they take him back inside, and it's just like
all in all, I thought the documentary was great, and I'm enjoying these like shorter documentaries, like these 4-parters,
where
it's not like a week-long commitment; it's like a couple-day commitment, like that. To
I guess
me,
the one
fits
before
really.
that was the Epstein one, right?
Yeah, that was 3 or 4 parts.
That to me was still way more terrifying than the Night Stalker.
That made me so uncomfortable.
I think
Dude
it was,
with the
and in a
pig
weird
head.
way, I think it was more evil than the Night Stalker.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of strangling and fighting and shit,
Monsters creating monsters.
Monsters creating monsters.
A new preview came out today, guys.
Give it to me.
And it's called Mechagodzilla. Wait.
Hunter, we get it. You want to talk about the guy at the Oscars winning the Godzilla award?
All right, Hunter, let's hear it.
Mechagodzilla's in the movie.
So the
Called Mechagodzilla.
Kong versus Godzilla trailer came out.
No.
What?
It's Godzilla versus Kong. Kong
Sorry.
versus Godzilla is a different movie. Let's not send people to the wrong places.
I hate you so much. I hate you so much.
I do too.
Everyone knows what we're talking about.
Nobody. I hate you. Well, go on. What would your?
Yeah.
I almost cried. Happy tears.
No shit.
It's in broad daylight, and the night scenes are well lit, and there's not atmospheric effects covering everything up.
That neon Tokyo
The
looking
neon,
scene.
yep.
I like it too.
And
have to look at it.
Mechagodzilla's at the very beginning of the preview. You can see him clear as day for like a millisecond. Millie Bobby Brown still stinking up the screen with her. I'm 11, so like me, even though I'm not acting crap, but I mean, it'll probably be
There's
okay.
that other girl that's in it. The one that was talking about King Kong a lot. She was also in Under the Loop.
Rebecca
Or
Hall.
Tales from the Loop or whatever. Is that her name? Was she in
Yeah.
previous King Kong movies?
No.
I'm a big fan of her.
She's great.
Did you see Tales from the Loop or whatever?
Not yet, but I really want to watch it.
She's super creepy, but she's like the main patriarchal
Did you
character.
see Tarzan talking to King Kong on the Skarsgård? Alexander Skarsgård.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. That's cool.
What are your theories? Because I have my own.
Yeah,
we
let's
talked
just-
about it.
let's
First off, since I know the least about this, let me pose a question to you. I did a lot of reading and kind of
You're probably wrong. Go.
poking around on the internet. The one thing everybody seems to have the biggest problem with is what the fuck happened to the size difference. They say that Godzilla, it can be up to 364 feet tall, while King Kong's biggest size ever was maybe 126 feet. And like, for instance, you picture King Kong scaling the Empire State Building, whereas Godzilla is as big as the Empire State Building. How the fuck are they all of a sudden the same size? And
Okay, so
did Godzilla shrink? Did
no,
King Kong grow?
there's three very quick answers. One, Kong grew up. He just got bigger. They talk about that in Kong Skull Island, that he's an adolescent and still growing. Two, Godzilla grew 100 feet between two movies in this exact franchise, so people saying Kong can't grow 150 feet in 50 years can fuck off, pardon my French. And three, it doesn't matter. Who cares? Who cares why they're similar sizes? They're fighting now. They're both big monsters.
I asked this
But
question
that's
before,
relevant
so-
to the fight. If all of a sudden Kong has a chance against Godzilla because he's all of a sudden portrayed as being 3 times his normal size.
Also, Godzilla was like 400 feet tall in the last movie, not 362. It was crazy.
Again, I'm just reading.
No, yeah.
No, the only reason I pointed at him when you're asking that question is because that's the exact same question I asked, and he did that exact same thing to me. When I was like, "Are you mad at me or something?" Jesus, dude,
You were
I'm
very
sorry.
prepared. You were
No.
super prepared for it.
I've been prepared. It was supposed to come out a year ago.
And so what's the deal with Mecha Ghidorah?
Not in the movie. We'll talk about that in a moment.
You're sure?
We'll talk about it in a moment, right? You said we'll discuss.
I don't know. I think it would sell toys, so maybe.
No, I agree. It could be in the movie. I have
Also,
reasons
it's
for thinking
obvious.
it's not in the movie.
It's obvious that somebody is controlling one or the other, and they're going to maybe fight until the spell breaks, and then they're going to team up and fight a big bad.
Okay, so theory. Charles Dance took the King Ghidorah head, created some kind of hybrid monster, and that is what they're going to team up against.
Or created Mecha Ghidorah.
No,
after already creating Mecha Godzilla,
we'll
which
discuss.
Okay.
There's business reasons,
And then
why
they have to
this
fight
wouldn't
the
be a
robot.
thing. It would be awesome. I'm not against it. I don't think it's happening. Mecha Godzilla is a Monarch property. That's from the credits of the last movie that you were referencing. So it makes sense that maybe Apex or whoever used Mecha Godzilla to subdue King Kong, and they're trying to get King Kong to fight because they said we need him, and Godzilla's being territorial.
Also,
and then at some point, Charles Dance shows up and goes, "I'm the Night King."
Hey, look up.
Yeah.
Destroy us here.
Yeah.
Well, also apparently Apex is a big deal in this one, and a lot of people discovered this by going to the IMDb page, and they have so many actors that are listed as like Apex Agent, Apex Agent, Apex Agent, and so they think Apex, whatever they do, I don't even know what Apex does, but whatever they do is going to be a big deal in this movie, kind of like they're an evil version of Monarch. Is that
That's
yes?
kind of what I think. So the map in the preview that shows up for a second, if you pause the preview and look at it,
Yeah.
all of Godzilla's humanity attacks that they reference in the preview are near Apex facilities.
Okay.
Every time Apex moves, Godzilla shows up and gets mad. So Casey had a theory for why, but they're like doing something that's
Because
pissing Godzilla
they're making
off.
Mecha Ghidorah.
No. So here's my. Can I cover mine? real quick?
No, mine's done. That was my theory.
My theory is that Charles Dance took that Ghidorah head and the DNA and goes, I can now make my own kaiju. But if I make a Mecha Ghidorah, Godzilla's just going to kill it. He killed Ghidorah once, he can do it again. So I'm going to create Godzilla in robot form exactly to the T of how we just saw him. And so they build this evil robot that's the size of Godzilla, same, like basically a copycat, which would be tough for Godzilla to defeat because it's a copycat of him. Then you're going to have Godzilla chasing that thing down because he can sense it, that a new Titan is being formed. And along the way comes across King Kong and is like, oh, that's it. That's what I'm after. Until they fight, King Kong beats the shit out of Godzilla, and then Mecha Godzilla shows up. And that's when Godzilla and King Kong are like, oh, I fucking told you Billy was going to show up. Let's kick his ass.
Did also have a prediction, and I don't know if you can tell me if you want me to leave this in or not. I think King Kong dies. I think Kong dies at the end. I think Godzilla lives, Kong dies.
That actually makes sense.
It does make sense.
Because of the way they can't do it any more King Kong Godzilla movies after this.
And also because of the way they shoot King Kong, even in the preview, they shoot him so human-like. They show his fingernails. They show his facial expressions. They could do a bleeding heart, tear-jerking, like Kong dies, hands open at the end. They're all crying. He's like, ugh, you know. You couldn't do that with Godzilla. Godzilla dying would just sort of look like a Gila monster falls over, you know. Fucking Kong dying would look like a person dying, you know.
There's still business reasons why I don't think they'll do that, though. It would be cool, but
well, they said King one will fall.
The Mecha King, well, yeah.
They also said that in Batman vs Superman.
Yes.
Yeah, but nobody watched that. Just kidding. It's okay. It's okay.
The Zack Snyder cut's going to come, buddy.
I know, and a lot of people are going to care. I'm sorry. Like, we're going to go back and watch a slightly different version of a movie that was terrible 4 years ago.
Whoa. We'll talk about this later.
Yeah,
slightly different.
I disagree with that.
Who's going to care?
I think
care about
the fiber
Snyder
bars
cut.
here, buddy, like the one thing they can't get out of you is a stick up your ass on that one.
He can't. Nobody's going to care.
Good
Nobody's going
Lord.
to care about.
Oh, man, he's moving in a seat. Oh, his diabetes is rampant.
He's just getting me all worked up for band practice.
Dude,
that sugar gremlin's busting out.
Bro, especially after WandaVision, like nobody's going to. Dude, DC's got a lot. Here's the good news.
You're not wrong there.
If they go ahead and just close DC now and just shut it all down, those people could probably get jobs working for Marvel. Because they look like they're getting really big now.
No, I think the Snyder cut giving Zack Snyder a six episode, four episode,
mm-hmm.
I think will hopefully help him save what Joss Whedon tried to destroy.
I'm not, in all seriousness, I'm interested to see it because you guys have talked so much about it. So I'm interested to go try to watch it with fresh eyes.
It definitely won't be the dirt.
That's true.
Fact.
Yeah, the Whedon cut was the dirt.
Yeah. Wait. See what you did there, you little dick.
Real quick, Mecha King Ghidorah would be awesome. I'm a big fan of it, so I'd love to see it in the movie. The reason I don't think it's there is because Toho, at the time that this movie was made, was still doing the thing where they license each of their kaiju individually instead of the universe, which is not smart, and they're all expensive. So even though it makes sense, that would mean that on top of Godzilla and Mecha Godzilla that they shelled out for, they'd have to buy another like $1 million monster and then design it. No, I know. And the reason I don't think they'll kill Kong, although it would make sense because he has got a history of not making it out, is because of having to license these characters, although they're talking about re-upping the deal and changing stuff around if this does well, God willing. But if that doesn't happen, they can get rid of the Toho monsters in a smooth way and keep Kong and the others because they don't have to license that from overseas. So there's a bunch of like weird backroom business crap that makes it
always, of course,
which is stupid. The good news is Toho's co-producing these movies now, and they've got to branch out into LA. So Toho might have been like, "You already have Ghidorah, just go make a robot version. We'll look the other way. It'd be great."
How's about this? Do you feel like when the movie comes out, are you going to see it in theaters?
Yes.
Do you feel like there's any possible way to see it at home that would do it justice?
Yeah.
Really?
I almost cried watching it at home.
You have to watch it at home right now because it comes out in March and theaters won't be open by then.
It's going to be shown in select theaters.
Regal's talking about reopening in March.
Really?
I just found out.
Because I would definitely put myself at risk of
For that?
COVID to go watch it in IMAX.
I really don't think you could. I don't want to see it on a laptop or even on my TV.
So here's our game plan. I already talked to Libby.
Yeah. Drive to another city.
Whoever our trusted friends are, so you guys, anybody that wants to, will gather at someone's house and watch it the first time there so that we can just enjoy the atmosphere and it not be fucking ruined by a bunch of dicks.
And if someone talks, I swear to God.
Yeah. I'll kick them off this aircraft carrier like that.
Get off my plane.
Yeah. And then once we've seen it properly, we'll go, it doesn't matter. You talk away. We're just going to go see the spectacle and go risk COVID for it.
This is actually one
the story.
I definitely want to see. This is one I would like really go see like in IMAX.
Uh-huh.
I want to see it in 40X.
Or that, whatever.
I've never experienced 40X.
This would be the one.
Is that the roller coaster ride one that like the seat moves?
That's when where it beats the shit out of you and sprays water on you. Imagine the water in this one. Imagine all the water in the wind.
Buckets.
I want to go see RPX because RPX has the better.
best.
It has the better sound and still has a really big screen.
Better chairs.
But man, hearing Godzilla's cry
Yeah, but there was also a lot of rap music in that trailer, and I was like, man, come on. It got a little Fast and Furious there for a minute.
That was part of what made it so great.
Godzilla jumping like this. Yay! Plasma breath.
Yeah. That's what Libby came home right after I saw the preview from church.
And Hunter was on his knees going, oh, it's so beautiful.
Basically. I was like, you got to see this. King Kong gets like a 90s action hero pose in slow-mo.
Hunter's covered in cum.
No, it was Mothweb.
Sure it was, buddy. I'll remember that the next time I have to explain to somebody.
Libby came in and saw Hunter looking like Stan Marsh in his tidy whities, just come everywhere. And she's like, oh, did the King Kong Godzilla trailer drop? And he's like,
I was like that guy from What's Eating Gilbert Grape.
That was fucking cruel.
You had to be here for the
We should all get on the little short bus to get out of here.
I can't believe you. I can't believe
that's actually Casey's fault, but I'll own it.
Wasn't that DiCaprio?
Yeah, it was.
Fuck.
He didn't get an Oscar for that one either.
No, he didn't.
He had to get mauled by a bear to get an Oscar. I'm excited for it.
Yeah. Also, the little girl that like Kong is friends with.
She can like in the other movies, it's a Godzilla that she can telepathically talk to, but in this one, I think she can like actually control Godzilla or King Kong. She can like get into King Kong's head.
Yeah, the telepath. That'd be awesome.
Well, supposedly the ending of the previous movie, there were all this art, about people controlling kaiju all down through the centuries.
Yeah, I watched that video. That was
one of like 6 I watched today.
No, I know.
But it was the only one that talked about Mechagodzilla.
Sure. That was an element of the credits that I thought was cool, though, was talking about the telepathic link between the kaiju, because the Godzilla franchise that we grew up watching was the 90s ones, and what he was referencing is Miki Sagusa. She was like an X-Man, basically. Thank you. She was an X-Man that had like mind control powers, and she could like talk to Godzilla with her brain and like tell him, don't attack the people, we're good, and he'd be like...
He was basically getting nagged by somebody. I kind of wish that this movie took place in more of a post-apocalyptic time where like kaiju are just destroying the planet. But it seems like everyone built everything back up and are living fine and dandy.
I've got a comic I need to loan you.
I don't want it.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do.
I'm gonna bend the spine back and I'll put the back page on the...
You bastard. I think it'd be great on what you were saying about the other monsters if they gave them their own movies. Like smaller budgets, but doing that. I mean, Toho did it back in the day.
These 3 movies that we've seen, I mean, we haven't seen the third one. Well, I guess the four movies, because Kong Skull Island.
That's number 4, yeah.
Yeah. So the 2014 Godzilla, Kong Skull Island, King of Monsters, and now Godzilla vs. King Kong. Those 4 movies are setting up a really good universe to just start loading everybody down with monster movies.
And not having to explain it anymore. Just be like, you've had 4 movies, you're on board or you're not.
Yeah.
And like every now and then maybe have Godzilla show up and do something badass and then leave, but it be centered around that monster.
Do you think it's possible, like if they can't get that to go in full big budget movie production, that somebody like Netflix or something
HBO Max probably, because of Legendary and Warner Brothers. Yeah, I'd be down. I would prefer theatrical, obviously, but that'd be great. I don't care. TV can match the visuals.
And I'll tell you
TV
what,
shows.
I know we've kind of touched on this before, but between the pandemic and like theaters closing down and all this, and like all of this stuff, like HBO Max, Netflix, bigger than ever. Movies debuting at home, on things like that. It does not look good for the movie industry.
Well, it also doesn't help that AMC, when it happened, when HBO and Warner Brothers signed that deal to put out movies in theaters and then on HBO Max same day at no extra cost. First of all, HBO Max had to pay stupid money for that.
Yep.
Dumb money to basically pay for half of every movie that was made on Warner Brothers' list this year. But with that being said, AMC goes, well, we just won't show those Warner Brothers movies at our theaters because that's stupid. And I was like, cool, shoot yourself in the foot, I guess.
Yeah.
Like some of the biggest movies, just don't have them in your theaters out of spite. That's the quickest way to get AMC theaters shut down.
I think you're right. I think one of the...
Like, is this the end of blockbuster movies?
No, because the money's there. I think it might be the end of theaters. And I hate to say this because I love the theater experience. If the theater experience doesn't get better, I'm all for it, because we've talked ad nauseum on this podcast before. Not kicking people out for using their phones, not kicking them out for talking ad nauseum during the thing, not cleaning this theater up so that like your shoes don't crunch when you walk in there. Theaters got
overpriced concessions.
Theaters got nasty. They got nasty. They didn't police their guests. it got to the point where like I went because I wanted to support the industry, not because I wanted to anymore. And that's not good because I love films.
And I gotta say, the last like 10 movies I saw in the theaters, I always had a situation of someone interrupting it.
Mm-hmm. No, it got more common.
Yeah. And I think honestly, it's probably more beneficial for people to like build a really good home theater system in their house.
Yeah, cheaper in the long run.
Yeah, you have HBO Max debuting movies. Why not invite your friends over? You know, you can set your own rules. You can, have people bring their own snacks. Yeah,
like the little things we're doing this week.
Yes, but I also hate because I love sitting in a theater and looking at the big screen.
I'm with you. I don't want it to go, but
and I've personally never been. And I've been in some pretty sick home theaters, but I've never.
It's not the same. It's never the same.
Just nothing feels as big and nothing sounds as big.
When we saw
I like when like a spaceship goes across the screen and your seat shakes a little bit.
100%.
There's an immersive kind of a thing, Also, it's a good like. I miss the idea of just going like to the theater as a destination. Like you could go there on a date. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like
that was back when it wasn't $50 for two people to go.
Yeah, no, I get it. I just would hate to see it disappear as an industry.
Who
also,
farted? That smells awful.
Not me. I would admit it. Oh,
I've been holding one in.
No, it smells like a gas leak. It's definitely Hunter. That is vile.
I mean, I would claim it if I did.
That is vile, sir.
Did you fart? Are you trying to not?
No, but you.
Oh, he who smelt it dealt it, they say.
I've heard.
No, I'm fine.
I smell that now.
No, it's fine. Fuck you guys.
Beacon House and the fart of mystery.
Doot 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 doot.
Oh my.